standing on the promises of God.
Welcome once again. We'll be doing our lesson from Proverbs chapter 1. So really my lesson is going to be knowledge and wisdom. I told my knowledge for this evening. So I'm stepping in for Rick since Rick is gone on vacation. So I'll be here for this week and for next week. And we're going to be looking at knowledge. We're going to be looking at wisdom. We're going to be looking in the book of Proverbs and possibly in the book of James. We'll see how far we get this evening. So in Proverbs chapter 1, we're just going to take it a little bit, section at a time. We're going to read verses 1 through 7 for our first section, and then so on and so forth after that. We'll just read and discuss. So I'll start off here first. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instructions of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and direction. Sorry, I can't read. Knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. To understand a proverb and an enigma, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instructions. And so, my main focus right now, when I was going through the study, is verse 7 for me. Because Sunday I just did a lesson about following God, following Christ, and Christ loved the sinners. Christ showed so much love and compassion and gave them self-worth. But here we have the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. So that could be a very stumbling point for many people, and it was for me, because I'm like, why should we fear God? Why is the fear of the Lord so important? Now, that's my question for you. What kind of fear is this that Solomon is talking about? Yes, I saw your name.
It's not the spooky fear, it's the reverential awe, fear of God.
Thank you. Okay, so it's not. He's not a tyrant. God is not a tyrant, someone that we should fear for our lives. Because remember last Sunday, I just did a lesson on how God loves us. And He doesn't want to harm us. But yet we're supposed to fear Him. We're supposed to respect Him. We're supposed to respect who He is and His holiness. But yet the words don't choose respect in here. They choose fear. Now I'm not going to get into all the Greek translations and all that, and I'll let you do that on your own time, understanding the Greek and why they chose that, and why for us it's fear, right? Elaine, do you have something to say? Okay. So fears, I wanted to kind of look at that, and I have a couple other places that you can look through, and I'll just rattle them off. You can look at Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. I have an NIV right now. It says, "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." I have ESV from Proverbs 9, verse 10. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight." Deuteronomy 10:12. "And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you, but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to Him, to love Him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul." I have one from Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. This is an NIV translation. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. So, where's that fine line now? How are we supposed to love God, but yet respect them? But yet our English translation always refers to us fearing God. That could be a misinterpretation for those. Because once again, if you don't know who God is not some ruler who we should be afraid of, right? Go ahead, yes.
But the Lord is a jealous God, and He will send our souls to hell.
Yes.
He's not a God of just all. He is all love, but He will righteously judge us. And if we do not obey Him, we will be sent to hell.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of fear as well. It is respectful for His power, but it is a fear of, I want to make sure I'm doing what He wants.
Right. No, you're right. Go ahead, Mike.
Tagging on to that, whenever you look at how fear is translated in the Bible, especially in Hebrew, it's two different words.
Okay.
Depending on the state. And you even see it in the Greek too in the New Testament when we're told not to fear the dangers of this world and Timothy. But then the fear related towards God is one of reverence. And to tie on her point, it's a fear of awe and reverence in that we respect God, as you were saying, understanding who He is, and part of that is respecting His power. So even though He is a merciful and benefactor, and He gives us grace, we have to understand that there are conditions to it. And that's what allows us to fear Him in a manner that also we can love Him.
Thank you. No, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to you wanting to know who God is, or who that individual is. And like I said, it's a weird thing how we as our English translation, it says fear, right? So it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. So once again, not man's knowledge, right? There's a passage out there that says seems right in a man's way, but it leads to destruction, right? So we're not looking at the world's knowledge or my own knowledge, but God, and because He is the Creator. I'll pitch it to you like this. If you were underneath King David, and he was your king, right? But King David was not a tyrant, and ruling and having people fear him every second of every day, but he was a loving king. People respected him. And if you were in his army, you would fear him because you do not want to disappoint him, because he is your ruler. Right? So we're looking at the fear of, I respect him. He is my king. He is in this line of work. He has power. And I do not want to fail him. And that's what it comes down to, is I don't want to fail this person. I don't want to be a disappointment. And that's the kind of clean fear that we need towards our king. And that's what the scripture is trying to point out to us, is this is a healthy fear. And you are just respecting them and who they are. And in doing that, you are gaining knowledge. Okay. So those are the two things. And if I continue this later on, we'll go into who King Solomon really is and why he's so focused on knowledge and wisdom. But at this point, we're just going to continue on in Proverbs and reading. So before I continue on, is there anything from verses 1 through 7 that you would like to discuss?
One of the key things in the beginning is not even just the discernment of knowledge, but how it's different from wisdom.
Okay.
And I guess he'll go into it because that's how Proverbs works. But there is a clear separation between that knowledge. So, like where it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge."
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge being identifying what's of God, what it means to respect God, and who His status is. But the wisdom being how we apply it to our lives. So you'll see later on throughout Proverbs, true wisdom is trusting in the Lord. It's those who rebuke correction, that would be wisdom. I mean, you'll see that. We'll probably touch on that.
No, it's okay. I mean, we could spend time in Genesis and flip and just look at the beginning, right? And how the serpent twisted the word and said, "You'll be just like God." But they could have been just like God if they just followed what He said to do, right? But that's not going to be tonight. But I'm just saying that's a point that if I have more time of this series, I might get to go back into Genesis with Adam and Eve and how they could be like God if they didn't eat the fruit. So if there's nothing else, so there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge and understanding and how to apply that in your lives. So continuing on, verses 8 through 19. Kara, can I have you read verses 8 through 19?
My son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother. For they will be a graceful ornament on your head and chains around your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, "Come with us," let us lie in wait to shed blood. Let us lurk secretly for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them alive like Sheol, and whole like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all kinds of precious possessions. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in your lot among us. Let us all have one purse. What verse?
Through 19.
Okay, 19. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, but they lie in wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone who is greedy for gain. It takes away the life of its owners.
Okay. So sometimes I hear there's a phrase out there that says ignorance is bliss. And it truly is. Being ignorant is bliss. But if you are to the point of you're so ignorant, you're going to get tied in with others and things that are going to hurt you in this life. And you're going to do things and you won't have understanding or knowledge. And you're just going to say, okay. Right? So Solomon is saying how important it is. Right? My son, hear the instructions of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother, for they will be a graceful ornament on your head, and chains about your neck. Something beautiful. Right? And that's why last Sunday I said, the Lord loves those who He chastises, right? He chastens those whom He loves. And the passage shows that a father, a parent will do that to their own children, and it seems painful and rude, and we don't understand because we don't have that knowledge, we don't have that wisdom, and we're not opening up to understand. But it goes with everyone in their life, even me, in my own life. I don't fully listen, or I fully don't understand, and I will get rebuked, and I just got to suck it up and hopefully understand, or I won't understand. And so Solomon continues to say that they're a beautiful ornament. He's trying to compare it and say, well, it's an ornament. Ornaments are beautiful. It's a necklace. They're beautiful. And these things, that even though they're not a physical possession, they will help you spiritually. And it even goes further to show the insight of these people that say, come and lie and wait with us, right? In verse 15, my son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, but they lie in wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone who is greedy for gain. It takes away the life of its owner. So I've been blessed. I have not really truly seen the full extent of what Solomon is expressing. So I've been blessed in my life. But I know there are plenty parts in this world where they do this, right? So I've been very grateful that I didn't have to experience that. And it's a shame that even mankind will go further into this evil, further into harming others because of their greedy gain. Right? To the point where they even hurt themselves, their own kind. So that's a pretty hard thing to grasp. The full magnitude of what other people can do. So, we got to do our best to stay away from them. So our next section, if there's nothing else to address, will be verses 20. We'll do 20 through 27. We'll stop, discuss, and then we'll continue on. So, Mike 3, can I have you read verses 20 through 27 for me?
Yes, sir. Wisdom shouts in the streets. She lifts her voice in the square. At the head of the noisy street, she cries out. At the entrance of the gates in the city, she utters her sayings. How long, O naive ones, will you love being simple-minded? And scoffers delight themselves in scoffing, and fools hate knowledge. Turn to my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you, because I have called and you refused. I stretched out my hand, and no one paid attention. And you neglected all my counsel, and did not want my reproof. I will also laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your dread comes. When your dread comes like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind. When distress and anguish come upon you, then they will call on me, but I will not answer. How far are you?
27 will be your last verse.
Oh, I already stopped. Yeah, I already read past it.
Oh, you did? Okay. So now we're going to get to wisdom at this point. So we talked a little bit about knowledge, and now we're going to talk a little bit about wisdom. So it says, wisdom calls aloud, I'm in verse 20, wisdom calls aloud outside. She raises her voice in the open squares. She cries out in the chief concourses, at the openings of the gates in the city. She speaks her words. So wisdom is portrayed as a person. But this is how wisdom wants to be handled. Right? So this wisdom is not a person here. We don't have a person named wisdom. But it's giving off human characteristics as it was a human being. And this is what wisdom is seeking from mankind. But wisdom is not getting it from mankind. So wisdom is crying out in the squares, everywhere crying out. In verse 22, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? For scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn at my rebuke. Surely I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you, because I have called and you refused. I have stretched out my hand and no one regarded, because you disdained all my counsel and would have none of my rebuke. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your terror comes. When your terror comes like a storm, and your destruction comes like a whirlwind, when destruction and anguish come upon you. So once again, this wisdom is doing its best. It wants to seek people. It wants to help people. But you see how people have just completely disregarded wisdom on its own. You can look at Noah, right? Before the flood came, what did Noah do?
Build the ark.
Okay, Noah built the ark. What else did Noah do?
He preached.
He preached, all right? He didn't really preach. He preached a type of salvation, right? Not spiritual salvation, but a physical one. Because God said, Noah, you're going to build an ark. It's going to rain like you've never seen before. You don't know about rain. But it's going to rain. Water's going to fall from the sky. And people thought he was a loon, right? People disregarded what Noah was trying to do. Noah was like wisdom. Seeking those, rebuking those, saying, turn back, There's going to be rain, save your souls, save your lives. But they didn't listen. Go ahead.
Oh, but Noah was also an example, and he was obedient. I mean, he continually did what the Lord wanted him to do. And he didn't stop doing what the Lord wanted. So he was obedient, and I don't know how wise he was, but he was wise enough to be obedient to the point where he finished the ark. He got everything aboard that he was supposed to get aboard, and do what he was supposed to do. It wasn't simple. It took a lot of effort. And it seems like the writer of Proverbs here says that, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? At the top here, it's a call to instruction and understanding. And I think Noah understood what he was supposed to do.
Go ahead.
Yes, in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 7, it says, "By faith Noah, being divinely warned of things yet not seen, moved with godly fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his household, by which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is according to faith."
Thank you. So that we see Noah as a good example of that first part in Proverbs where Noah knew God. He moved with godly fear because he knew who God was, right? He was holy. He wanted to respect him, honor him, and he didn't want to fail God. And so he moved with godly fear and did everything he could. And there was a simplicity, right? So he was understanding, he was growing, and he didn't get enticed with all those people that were around him. Right? So that Noah is a good example of how knowledge is supposed to be handled, how seeking God is supposed to be handled, how you're supposed to respect God and not fear him as a tyrant, but fear him as, yes, he's your creator, and yes, he will judge us, and he will handle our souls. So it is healthy. It's just hard to see how healthy this fear is, this respect for God is. Yes, Mike.
To further add on to that, it's interesting how wisdom is portrayed here because it clearly defines that separation again of knowing versus having wisdom. And it pretty much just ties into even what's mentioned in the New Testament, where wisdom is not just having the knowledge, but acting on it. It's an application of what you know. So you can see throughout all the many different examples, Noah included, even all the way down to the Ethiopian eunuch. He had the scroll from Isaiah. He asked, "What must I do to be saved?" Who is this person that's mentioned in Isaiah? And so knowing doesn't save you, but the application and realizing that reverence and that fear of God and that He's our answer is what gives you true wisdom. Even in Matthew, if you look at the parable of the wise man building his house, we see in the very beginning of that parable in chapter 7, Jesus actually defines wisdom right there. So 7:24 it says, "Therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them may be compared to a wise man who built his house on the rock."
And that's Matthew, you said? Matthew 7 verses
24.
24. Alright, Matthew 7, 24. Sorry, that was a point to the audience.
Oh,
So that way they knew. Matthew 7, 24.
yeah, 'cause,
Comparing someone to a man that built his house on the rocks, right? Their foundation. That's
again,
what I
it's that same application of just knowing that one area is more sturdier than the sand doesn't mean anything if you don't actually fall through.
Right, you're applying it, you're putting it into action. You're stealing what James is going to help us with, but we're not going to be able to get to the book of James this evening. Alright. So, we'll read verses 28 to 33 we'll discuss, and then I'll be it for our lesson this evening. So, Liam, can I have you read verses 28 through the end of the chapter?
Yeah. Then they will call on me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but they will not find me. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, they would have none of my counsel and despised me my every rebuke. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their own way and be filled to the full with their own fancies. For the turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will dwell safely and will be secure without fear of evil.
Okay. So how many of you think this is unfair of what wisdom is describing? No one thinks it's unfair? Seems pretty cruel for wisdom to say that. Go ahead.
It seems to me that wisdom is a slow gathering. Like, you can't just immediately have wisdom. It takes years of study and preparing to gather wisdom. And a lot of people like today want things automatically. And they think, well, when I need it, then I'll get it. But wisdom, as personified as a person,
Yes.
is letting us know that that's not going to happen. They're going to call for me, but I'll not answer because they had all that other chance beforehand. So,
Because a lot of there are plenty of people that will say, well, that's not the God I know. The God I know is loving, and so loving that he doesn't want to harm anyone. He won't do anything bad to you. So they can really twist this passage and not fully see who God truly is, right? Because once again, then they will call on me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but they will not find me. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. All right. Yes, Mike.
So we talk about Noah.
Okay.
Noah building the ark, gathering the food, getting the animals all on the ark, getting his family on the ark. But just remember that Noah did that for 100 years.
Right.
We get tired after a couple of days, you know what I mean?
Right. He did that for years.
So
Right.
so like you say, we gotta do it till our last breath. We just cannot give up.
Anyone else? Yes, Mike. Go ahead.
To point out what was mentioned before about it being a long-term goal, it's also easy to just compare it to what kind of mindset we have in order to gain wisdom. So when we look and see how many times that reproof or correction isn't applied or adhered to, we can see that it's our own ego, it's our own boastfulness and stubbornness that gets in the way. And it also is interesting when it ties back into the beginning of the chapter, where you can see wisdom is defined in the first few verses, and then later on, what verse is it? Verse 4, it specifically says, "Through the youth, knowledge and discretion." So it also even kind of shows and continues that picture of it takes experience, it takes application, it takes growing as a person in order that knowledge can be wisdom.
No, thank you for that. Let's see here. So once again, verse 30, they would have none of my counsel and despise my every rebuke. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their own way, like you said, their own way, and be filled to the full of their own fancies. For the turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will dwell safely, and will be secure without fear of evil. So that's what this first part ends with. We saw a little snippet, once more, of knowledge, how to attain it, And the first thing to do is to look towards God. If you don't start your journey with God, you won't know who He is. Just like if I didn't start my journey with Kara, I wouldn't have known who she is. I wouldn't have gained knowledge of who she is. I would not have respected her or loved her, so on and so forth. So, with any relationship in your life, you have to start with them. And when you understand and you know more about them, you will eventually have knowledge and you will eventually, I guess you can use the word, fear them in a sense. Right? Because you don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to be a failure in their eyes. You want to respect them and honor them. Right? Elaine, do you have anything? Okay, I always like to ask, because you have some good comments. You always like that. So, once again, that last part, you got to understand who God is. Just like Noah, He gave them years. Everyone in Noah's time, He gave them years. And throughout those whole time, only 8 souls were saved. But God gave them time. Right? So understanding that God will give people time. Here in this wisdom, people can take that last part, 28 through 33, and say, that's not the God I know. That's not the one I serve. But once you read more about who He is, He gives everyone time to start their walk. And that's the most important thing. And so, if there's no other discussion this evening about knowledge and wisdom, I wanted to actually leave off with reading 2 Peter 3, verse 9 from my lesson last Sunday. Second Peter 3, verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning His promise, as some count slackness, but is long-suffering toward us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Excuse me. So that's what I wanted to leave you with this evening, once more. To understanding who God is, how we should respect Him, how we should gain knowledge, and that He is long-suffering and waiting for us to come to repentance, for us to start our journey with Him. Excuse me. Thank you once again for being here. And at this time, we're going to sing our song of invitation. And if there's someone that has not given their life to Christ and would like to start